Welcome one and all to the second annual Kraken Player Awards, and I think the first time as its own video, as presented by... Now, the way these work is that, for the most part, they're the same awards. They'll be handed out for the NHL as a whole here in a couple of weeks, but just for Kraken players and voted on by, well, just me. Though, with that having been said, this is going to be the last year that it's just me handing these out, as I do have some ideas of how to get you guys involved for this same thing when we do it next year at the end of the season. So be on the lookout for how that's going to happen. I've got plenty planned for this offseason, just like I did last year, though this time I probably won't end up getting COVID to derail that completely. So now, with all of that out of the way, and without further ado, let's get into the main event here and the awards for this 2022-23 Kraken season. And we'll start with two that involve no subjectivity whatsoever. It's the Kraken Art Ross for the most points and Kraken Rocket Richard for the most goals, both of which for the second season running going to Jared McCann. Though this time he did put up a lot more points and goals than the inaugural season. Of course, as we already mentioned, breaking last season's goal record by 13, going up from 27 to 40, and last year's point record by 20, moving up from 50 to 70 points on the season for McCann. Up next, then, we do start with the more subjectively handed out awards, though with this first one, there's a clear and obvious winner that nobody could possibly disagree with. That's because it's the Kraken Calder Award. But what the heck, we'll have some fun with it anyway. So in that vein, the nominees are Matty Beniers, of course, with 80 games played, 57 points, 24 goals, and 33 assists. Shane Wright with 8 games played and 1 goal and 1 assist in those. And then, although technically speaking, he wouldn't actually be eligible for the Calder since he didn't play in the regular season, and the regular season is what this award is for, Ty Cartier figured we'd throw him in here anyway since there weren't a ton of rookie options. And he did have 5 points in the playoffs with 3 goals and 2 assists. But then, the winner of this award, and likely winner of the NHL version, is Matty Beniers. This is the first year this award has been handed out, and to be perfectly honest, I don't remember who I gave any of these awards to last year, so this is all based on 1 year, but this is Beniers' first nomination and first win. Now, I'm not really going to spend too much time on the winners of each of these awards, because I already did the player grades where I would have talked about each player in a little bit more detail if I didn't already in the season recap video. So, again, with this one, it's pretty obvious Beniers was going to win it, as he was realistically the only true candidate, and on top of that, again, he's the front runner for the actual NHL award. The next award is one that might have a little bit more when it comes to differing opinions on who should win it, but still the nominees are pretty obvious, and you'll see why. It's the Kraken Vezina, where there's only 3 guys that played in goal for the Kraken this season. So those nominees are Philip Grubauer, who played 39 games with a noticeably better save percentage than last year, just under 900 still though, at 895, and a 2.85 goals against average. As well as then Martin Jones, who played 48 games for the Kraken, he with a little bit worse save percentage at 886, and a little worse goals against average, just under 3 at 2.99. And then Joey Decord, who in 5 games did manage a 900 save percentage at the end of the season, but still a 3.14 goals against average. And the winner is Philip Grubauer. Again, this is Grubauer's first nomination and first win, although I'm pretty sure he did win it last year by default more than anything else once again. With once again a season that isn't going to get him any real Vezina attention for the NHL by any stretch of the imagination, and although it was a little bit better than last year, was still more around average than anything else, as we're still waiting for a good regular season from a Kraken goaltender, and next year he will have the opportunity to provide just that. And now for some awards that do have more than one guy you could nominate, and even more than one guy I could see people voting for to win. First off is the Kraken Norris for the Defensive Player of the Year. The nominees are Vince Dunn with a fantastic season, playing in 81 games with 14 goals and 50 assists for 64 points, all of which career highs for him, as well as franchise records from a defenseman for the Kraken. Adam Larson, who did play the one more game than done for the full 82, the only Kraken player to have played in every game so far in franchise history. For him as well, career highs, or at least equaling career highs in goals, points, and assists, as he ends the season with 8 goals, tie with what he had last year for a career high there, as well as career high 25 assists and career high 33 points. And third, because I had to pick someone, although I could see arguments for a couple of others, I went with Jamie Alexiak, who in 75 games also set career highs in those offensive categories with 9 goals, 16 assists for 25 points. And the winner is Vince Dunn. For Dunn, once again, this is the first nomination and first win, although last year I don't think he was even a thought when it came to this award. With a season that will likely get him some, at least, fringe votes for the Norris over the entire NHL. He's not going to win it, but I think he will get some 4th or 5th place votes here and there. And although his playoffs weren't the best, and Larson definitely was the better defensively between the two, and this award isn't just for the best offensive defenseman, although that is often how it gets voted in the actual NHL voting, for Dunn it was just a massively improved season from last year, one that, with a better postseason, may very well have earned him somewhere in the ballpark of $7.5 to $8 million per year in his next contract, with this being a contract year. Still, for Dunn, a great season, and although Larson was still the better defensively between the two, I felt what Dunn did offensively, as well as a marked improvement defensively, was enough to make him the clear choice here. Sticking with the theme of defense, but this time looking to the forward end, we have the Kraken Selke Award for the best defensive forward on the team. And this is one where I waffled a fair amount on who I was going to have win this award, and even who I was going to nominate for it, as the guy that I originally picked to win it isn't even one of the final 3 nominations. And those nominations are Matty Beniers, who plays well beyond his years in all aspects of the game, but especially defensively on the back check, making a number of, I don't know if highlight reel is necessarily the way to say it, as back checks tend to not show up on the highlight reel, but if there was a highlight reel of back checks, even across the NHL, he would be on it a fair number of times. Then Jared McCann, who, even outside of what he did offensively for the Kraken, made a huge difference defensively as well, and was definitely a big part of the catalyst for the 180 turnaround of the penalty kill halfway through the season. And third, Yanni Gourde, who was the leader in pretty much every way, obviously the center of it on top of it, of that third lockdown line for the Kraken in the back half of the season and postseason run, especially in that series against the Avalanche. And again, this is just a regular season award, but I felt that was worth mentioning. And of course, Gourde, as always, tenacious on the back check as much as the forecheck. In the end, though, there can only be one winner, and that winner is Jared McCann. This is McCann's first nomination and first win in the category, but third win of these awards. Once again for McCann, I think his defensive play might get overshadowed a bit by how good he was offensively, but I felt like he really was the best defensive forward for the Kraken this season. Maybe it wasn't always as obvious as some players like Gourde with that back check, or Beniers hustling back when honestly not even the defense was quick back to the puck. But McCann had a fantastic season on the defensive end, just like the forward end. And again, like I mentioned, was a big part of that turnaround for the penalty kill halfway through the year. Up next, we have the appetizer, if you will, to the big one, though it does come from the more important part of the season, that being the Kraken Conn Smythe for the playoff MVP. And as I talked about, well, heck, in the last R&R, much less the season recap video, with the depth the Kraken had in the playoffs and full team effort, there's any number of guys you could go with here, but in the end, there can only be 3 nominees and 1 winner. So those nominees are 1, Yanni Gourde, who led the team in points in the playoffs with 13 in 14 games on 4 goals and 9 assists, and even more than that, obviously was a huge part of that lockdown third line for the Kraken. And then the leader in goals for the Kraken, as well as scoring that overtime winner in Game 4 at home in Jordan Eberle. Yeah, admittedly, he does have the one big black eye in these playoffs, then reason the Avalanche fans probably won't be too happy if they're watching this that he would get nominated here, of that hit on Cogliano that should have had him suspended for Game 7 of that series. Either way, he didn't get suspended and did end up scoring 6 goals and 5 assists for 11 points in 14 games. And last, but certainly not least, in net for the Kraken, Philip Grubauer, who had a fantastic postseason after, again, right around average regular season. And although he does have 2 games that really drag down the numbers here for him, just a .903 save percentage and a .299 goals against average, he was much better than that for the majority of the games. In the end, though, only one of these 3 can win it, and that winner is Philip Grubauer. Again, the best player in the playoffs for the Kraken. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say, and I don't think too many people are going to disagree with me here. He really is the main reason, or at least the biggest reason, that the Kraken made it through 14 games of these playoffs, playing 2 Game 7s, and although they do end up falling short in the second one, it was by just 1 goal, and it was Grubauer that kept them in that game all the way. Again, he did have a couple of games off here and there, but he's the only reason the Kraken got to that second round, much less got to Game 7 of it. And finally, well, not quite finally, there is one more after this, but finally, as far as the NHL-style awards are concerned, we have the Kraken Hart for the season MVP. And the nominees are, of course, Jared McCann with his record-setting, or franchise record-setting, 70 points on 40 goals and 30 assists in 79 games, so got just that close to being a point-per-game player for the Kraken. Obviously, Vince Dunn for setting franchise records defensively, or from a defenseman anyway, offensively, with those 64 points on 14 goals and 50 assists that we already mentioned in the 81 games, as well as a noticeable improvement on the defensive end for him as well. And of course, we can't not mention Matty Beniers with the 3rd nomination here. And for Beniers, another fantastic season. I say another, a fantastic rookie season from him, building off of those last 10 games he had last season, which I guess was a fantastic 10-game season for him there. But Beniers will probably be the one of these players that actually has a real shot at winning an NHL award. When it comes to who wins the Kraken MVP, though, well, I'm not going to disagree with what I said when it came to this award as it was handed out by the team. That was Vince Dunn as the MVP of this team. This is Dunn's first nomination and first win in the category. I'm pretty sure McCann won it last year, and I didn't bother doing nominations. So yeah, Dunn the first for both. Again, the postseason, he could have played better, and maybe that does knock some off of a contract, which wouldn't be the end of the world. But this is a regular season award, and to me, Dunn was clearly the best Kraken player when it came to the regular season. Defensively, again, Larson was the defensive first player of that pair, but Dunn played pretty well defensively, didn't have nearly the number of defensive mistakes that he did last season, and obviously was a force when it came to the offensive end, enough so that he, like I mentioned for the Norris, will likely get some Norris votes here and there. And I suppose you can also look at those 3 nominees that I had for the Kraken Hart as my personal Kraken 3 stars of this season. In order, it would be Dunn, McCann, then Beniers. But when it comes to the accumulated 3-star winners from each R&R video, which I did keep track of throughout the entire season, even the ones where nobody won it or when there was just 1 or 2 winners, still for the most part, most games had 3 stars. Those 3 stars, when it came to who won them the most, well, Matty Beniers had the most with 25 stars won at the end of the season. Second was Jordan Eberle with 22. And third was Jared McCann with 21. And McCann was the one out of everybody, but those 3 who had the most first stars with 14. And actually, Grubauer had the second there with 12. Goaltenders tend to stand out a bit when they have good games, which is why he has so many first stars and not as many other ones. And then Beniers had the 3rd most first stars with 8. So if you weighted it, I suppose, by first stars being worth the most and then second and third on down, then McCann would probably be the leader there, but I just went by total stars regardless of which one it was. Either way, Beniers, Eberle, and McCann, I think, pretty well deserving of being mentioned as the 3 accumulated 3 stars of the season for the Kraken. And so with that will do it for us here with this second year's Kraken Player Awards. Let me know what you thought down in the comment section below, who you would have voted for. Again, we likely will have a way for you guys to vote on this next year. And heck, it actually occurred to me we could even maybe do a live stream of this at the end of next season. Hopefully with the Kraken having won the cup and that being more than a calendar year from right now. Until then, though, and well, hopefully not until then, but until the next one, which will probably be a fan reaction video, and then we'll start getting to more some off-season stuff and those 101s that I've been working on researching and writing here in the last few days. Until sometime here in hopefully the near future, if you have made it to the end of this one, thank you very much for watching. If you did like or enjoyed this video, the buttons for that stuff down below help support the channel. And as always, stay safe out there, be good to each other, God bless, and go Kraken!